is another Watercraft. It's another live session of the Watercraft Journal. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Watercraft Journal. My name is Kevin Shaw. Thank you for tuning in. We came in right in the nick of time. We were hoping to get some things scheduled out, but we're really excited for tonight's show and tonight's guest. But first, I'm going to do a little bit of news real quick before I bring in our guest. Just so you guys know, for written content that's been going on in the magazine really quick at watercraftjournal.com, that's www.watercraftjournal.com, is that we have been publishing quite a bit of a build series together with Chris Stone of the Adventure State and with Jared Brussels of JD's Waterworld. They're both working on the new Ultras. There's been a lot of new parts coming out for the new platform. They've been doing a lot of testing for us. So if you are interested in the new Cowies that are coming out, there's been quite a bit of content that's already been published. We've done shootouts with the ECUs. We've done a lot of different upgrades, a lot of K-Speed stuff coming out from Unlimited PWC, stuff from Riva Racing. So if you are interested in the new Cowies and in modifying the new Cowies, we've been pumping out a lot of content. That's been kind of the new girl lately, and so a lot of people are really drawn to it, and we're trying to pump out as much content as we can on that. As far as the video channel, as far as the YouTube channel here, we let me bring up the still getting used to the there we go. Still getting used to the new software. Couple things coming up. The Fall Mudbug video is in final edit. We are just chipping away on a couple things. We expect to have it around this time next week, and there will be an article going with that. So that'll be a great video coming out, and that also includes the 2022 Sea-Doo GTX Limited 300, as well as the 2022 Ultra 310 LX. And those skis are in there, along with, we got to test ride Greg Gaddis's modified stage 2.5, 87 mile an hour RXPX. And that's all in that video as well. So that'll be something there for you guys to sink your teeth into next week, as well as also having more daily content. Then we have a couple announcements for the rest of the month as far as the live sessions. As far as the live sessions go, we will not be having a guest next week. We're going to take a break. We're going to just kind of do old school. I'll take a lot of super chats, a lot of tech questions, just chatting with you guys. We're going to go up. We're going to go into a little bit of a topic, and that topic will be announced. And so that will be next week. And then the next 2 weeks after that, we have some pretty big guests. One of them is a actual representative from corporate, and he is willing to take your slings and arrows, and that's going to be a really fun one. I will not share who and what manufacturer just yet. We don't like to let the cat out of the bag too early. Usually it's about 5 or 6 days out that we let everyone know who the next guest is going to be. And then we have possibly one of the most talented stand-up, sit-down watercraft racers, riders in my personal experience. I've known him since he was a very, very young man, and I'm excited to welcome him onto the show. And we have lots of other really cool stuff coming up. But for today, I want us to give a very warm welcome to Sea-Doo racer Anthony Radetic. Anthony, thank you very much for being on the show. Really appreciate you coming in. This one was, I've got to talk to you briefly, just like in between heats at races. Oh, by the way, I always joke that I'm looking at you on the screen, but my camera's over here, so I'm always messed up. But
that's all right.
But we've only been able to just chit chat real briefly. I've never been able to actually sit down and just put our feet up and chill out and talk. And so this is actually really exciting for me, because we've been covering a lot of your exploits in endurance and offshore racing for the last 10 years. I think you really jumped into watercraft around 2013 late 2013 into 14, correct?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Now, in going through your resume, the one thing, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's obscenely impressive. And I'm going to go through, I just want to go through a big list of stuff because literally your resume makes all of us feel like absolute fat slobs. So what you've been able to accomplish, my friend, is absolutely staggering. So let me bring up, I'm gonna add this. I pulled this off of the Jetlift site, and what's funny is that a lot of my homework and digging up stuff really kind of ended around 2019. It didn't have a lot of really recent stuff, and I'm like, man, we got to update your website. We got to update a lot of this because you have had a hell of a last few years, and man, there's some big accomplishments that you've achieved, and they got to be added onto these websites. But for a lot of you guys, a lot of our viewers, a lot of those in the chat right now, and those who are going to be watching later, might not know your racing career and before that. So I'm gonna get into this. So just hang tight as I read through your accolades a little bit. But all right. So I don't know how far to go back because it's a really good bio here. But it says upon his enlistment. Well, let me back up. All right. So Anthony joined the U.S. Army as a parachute rigger in 2000. Upon his enlistment, he was sent to Fort Benning, Georgia, where he completed airborne school while stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He completed the Army's primary leadership development course. He attended Special Forces selection course in Camp McCall and was selected for Special Forces. Radetic was then picked to become Special Forces Communications Sergeant and assigned to U.S. Army Special Operations Command Headquarters as a sergeant. During this time, the U.S. Army began a new program, Army Laser Surgery Program, which allowed soldiers to have a photorefractive, keratomas.
PRK for short.
PRK, okay, eye surgery to partake in a special test program to attend the Army Flight School. Radetic was selected for the program and was stationed in Fort Rucker, promoted to WO1, completed the Army helicopter flight training, and became an Army aviator. He was sent to Fort Benning, Georgia, to serve as a primary Black Hawk VIP pilot for the post general. While an advanced course of training in Fort Rucker, this is where you had your motorcycle accident on base, correct?
Yep, that was it.
And that was 2006 or 2004, Mike?
2004.
That was 4, okay. Because what blows my mind is the next paragraph, and this is what's like, okay, well, nothing's keeping this guy down, is 6 years after your injury, you tried skiing for the first time in West Virginia, and in 2012, you moved to Aspen, Colorado to begin training for international alpine skiing competitions.
Yeah.
All right. And then while training in Aspen, Radetic was filmed by Warren Miller while he landed his first backflip on a mono ski. So it's like, all right. So we all know you because of the Watercraft community, because of your exploits for the last 9-10 years in Watercraft racing. But the alpine skiing thing knocked my socks off. That was really, really impressive. I mean, growing up in Southern California, my folks were snow bunnies, and so we went to Mammoth and Shasta and all these different places snow skiing. I wasn't by any means, a really good snow skier. I mean, I could go down a diamond, and have my teeth rattled out, but I wasn't very, I wasn't what I would call good. My brother-in-law grew up in Colorado. He was a ski instructor. That guy could jump and do all sorts of crazy stuff. But now, and then I'm like, oh yeah, he did a backflip, 6 years after his injury. And I'm like, okay. or 8 years after his injury. And I'm like, all right, never mind.
Yeah, I
So
was.
motorcycles, snow skiing, helicopter pilot, obviously anything that's going to get your heart racing, you love.
Yeah, and get you
So,
killed too.
yeah, well, being an old hot rodder, there's an old saying that if the car doesn't scare you, it's not fast enough.
That's right.
And
Yeah, that's very true.
yeah, so because you have to respect it. If you don't respect it, it'll get out of your hands, and then you start seeing guys with Mustangs running into crowds. But so I want to ask a little bit about the segue from snow skiing, obviously with motorcycle, then snow skiing. You also competed in several biathlons, correct? You were doing cycling, you were doing swimming, you were were you participating in triathlons as well?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out my niche, what I wanted to do next in life, and I did a lot of cycling, a lot of marathons. I actually was doing almost a marathon each month for a while, and till I till I fell into skiing.
Okay. And then from snow skiing into watercraft. Tell me about that transition.
While we were living in Aspen, my wife hated the snow. So
Oh no.
yeah, so I had to find something else because I got to keep the wife happy. If she's not
Sure.
happy, it's all downhill. But yeah, I really love being in the water, on the water. Love swimming. So being on Sea-Doo was natural for me, I guess. It was the
Okay.
next progression.
Okay. So offshore. Now, I first met you, and I remember this. I first met you at the Long Beach to Catalina race in 2014.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
were
that
on
was a
a
good.
white RXPX, and and I think you've always had the same number 153, right?
Yep, yep.
Okay. Does that have any significance, or is that just a number that you fell into?
No, 153 was my first aircraft in the Army, so I just kind of transitioned it over, and
Very cool.
but now I changed it to 22 for the Kill 22 nonprofit program for the 22 veterans that die each day. So
Great.
that's what. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. All right. Guy, how did I not know? That must have been recent then. Was that
Uh,
within the last year?
yeah, I changed the number. I think it was, yeah. Well, this year
Okay.
I changed the number. So
All right.
as soon as
I
Michelle,
swear I pay attention, so I was nervous that I totally spaced on that.
no. Michelle at Petra just allowed us to change our numbers that we could pick something under 30. So that
Okay.
was I've been gunning for that number for a while.
Good. All right. Very cool. All right. So going back to it, what made you go, all right, I'm doing long distance endurance? I mean, close course is one thing, and Florida has a lot of close course racing. But for you to go, I'm going to try this stupid offshore California race right out of the gate. Really, that wasn't.
Yeah,
that takes some stones, man. That was pretty cool.
yeah. I met Ronnie Mack
Okay.
while I doing a Never Quit challenge ride, and he's the one that told me about the race in Long Beach to Catalina. So
All right.
as soon as he told me, that's really all I knew at first about PWC racing is the Long Beach to Catalina. So I had to try it,
Okay.
and yeah, it was an eye opener, and from there it's pretty much history. I just got the bug and started hunting for races.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, I think the guy who made the introduction, if you don't mind me saying so, was a gentleman named Mark Gerner. And I don't know
Yes,
if you remember Mark. All right.
I sure do. I sure
Yeah.
do.
And Mark was the guy who really held my feet to the fire when it came to offshore racing. and really asked more of me. And and you don't want to disappoint Mark. That's the problem is. And so I was like, oh man, it's like, all right, I gotta try harder.
Well, he's a typical Marine for sure, an officer. So he knew his stuff.
It was him and Tom Arnold. Remember Tom Arnold? Did you ever meet him? The guy, he had a neck like this, and geez. And they're like, Kevin, we're going out. I'm like, when? It's like, tomorrow. I'm like, what time? They're like, you got to be at the launch ramp at 5. I'm like, why 5? Like, why?
Why not?
I know. So, but there's a reason I was in the best shape of my life when I was riding with those guys. They demanded it of you. So
that's right.
So from there, now you're not living in Florida, correct? You're in Alabama?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm in,
all right. What's that? I'm sorry. Did I cut you off?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So you're doing the Aqua X series, kicks off, almost perfect timing, right with you coming into your own and getting in with Sea-Doo. And my thinking is how well the RXPX and the Ergolock fit your circumstances. Was that kind of like a no-brainer?
Yeah, it was absolutely a no-brainer. Between the other manufacturers, it seems like Sea-Doo was building a ski for me. So I fell right into it, and it was the perfect choice actually for me.
Okay. All right. Now, if I can, and you can tell me to go pound sand, and I don't mean to be too personal, but with your injury, I've seen that you've had some partial mobility, or you're able to have a little bit of strength to help keep you in. Is that right? Or is it...
So I am incomplete paraplegic. So I do have some movement, but they're not real precise movements. I can't walk, but I can stand up. I can bear weight on my legs.
I've seen that, and I just wanted to ask.
Yeah. Like a lot of people are like, man, like that guy can stand. Wait, he's not paralyzed. What the heck is wrong with him?
No.
Yeah, so I have to kind of give a description. There's 2 paraplegics, and one is an incomplete, and one is a complete. And I'm fortunate enough to fall in the incomplete paraplegic.
Okay, so but that allows you to use the Ergolock effectively, in that you can bring your knees in, and you can use a lot of that.
Yep. So the Ergolock really locks me in, and since I can squeeze my knees in, it works perfect.
Awesome. Okay, and that's kind of the thinking behind it. I was like, man, when the Ergolock was first introduced, 2012, and I just looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, they've just normalized race level equipment. And then I see you and I go, oh my gosh, that makes perfect sense. I mean, that's perfect. So your relationship with the RXPX, let me back up. My experience with racers is that racers tend to kind of go wherever the wind blows strongest. So if next year someone makes something slightly quicker, everyone seems to just jump and grab onto something. Your brand loyalty is bifold. It's listen, no one is making an ergonomic system that fits me and meets my needs. And you have racked up so much experience on that platform that it's old hat.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly it. You hit the nail right on the head.
Okay. All right. I mean, again, I'm extrapolating this stuff, so it's like, all right, well, what can I come up with? Now, I tried to do my homework. Now, we talked about Aqua X, and you have climbed and climbed and climbed, and you have not given up. And talk about perseverance is the absolute word here. But you've had a tremendous last 2 years at Aqua.
Yeah.
And then repeated performances at World Finals. And then we got to talk about the last year, because your last year, now mind you, I got to tell you, landing Anthony on tonight was a big deal, because he's coming fresh off of winning the Mark Hahn 300, which is literally 300 miles, the longest continuous jet ski race in the world. And then he warned me, he sent me a text a couple of days ago, and he goes, "Hey, are you sure we can do this? I'm going to Thailand next week." And I'm like, okay. So there's literally no moss that is going to grow on this guy's stone. But before we get into Thailand next week, and before we get into Hahn, let's talk about your last Aqua, the last couple of years of Aqua, and then the finals.
Yeah. Aqua X. Yeah, let's go. Let's talk about Aqua X.
Okay. So where do you want to begin?
You tell me. Just
well, all right. I'll start this, because I think this will appeal to a couple guys. What is, after 10 years of riding the P and going through 2 different iterations of the PX, what is your, if as much as you're willing to share, what is your setup for Aqua X that you're like, this is a reliable, I know I can win with this setup for an RXPX?
It's super simple. I try to stay with all stock parts. Just a few of the Arriva modifications on it, what are allowed by the rules. And I use some amazing sponsons now from PWC Art that are work really well.
Oh,
yes.
You like those? Okay.
I do like them. I do like them, and it fits me well.
All right. And what modifications from Riva are you allowed to run?
So I use retainers, springs, and catch can and air intake. Performance, there's no performance gain out of the catch can, but it keeps the system clean. Right.
And you're allowed a reflash, correct?
Oh, that's right. And I use the map tuner, and Jesus is absolute whiz with the map tuner. He's man, I'm thankful to have him on my side for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the nice thing is that he's also incredibly responsive. So if you're saying, "Hey, listen, this is what I'm experiencing, or this is what I'm feeling," he's able to modify that and cater to what you need.
Yeah, pretty much on the fly. I can send him a file in the morning, and he changes it by the morning.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
There's a reason that Dave Bambus hunted him down. They needed him desperately, and he's become an incredible asset to Riva and all the customers who use the map tuner software. So
absolutely.
Pretty simple setup. More stock the better, because obviously you got to stay within the rules of Aqua X, but you're able to find a few things that work really good. Seat cover. What do you do for seat cover?
So I use my own seat, and it's by Blacktip.
Okay.
And they do a really good job with their seat system. Actually, they purchased HydroTurf now, so it's the same company. I think the only competition that they'll have now is Jet Trim.
Yeah, and Jet Trim is a little bit more of a high-level custom, more of a kind of a tailor-made sort of situation. It's very hard to call up Jet Trim and just go, "Hey, what do you got on the shelf? Can you send it out?"
That's right. Yeah, very true.
Now, does Aqua X allow you to modify any of the contour, the shape of the seat?
As long as I don't change the base of the seat, I'm fine. Now, due to my disability, I am able to change the shape of the seat.
Okay. All right. Interesting enough. So, ranking wise, you had a hell of a year. And I didn't know if you wanted to share a little bit about just climbing up and how the year went for you.
Sure, absolutely. I feel like the first year that the new RXP came out, it took a little bit to understand the machine and get used to it. But as I did, I found out that it's an extremely reliable and a predictable machine.
Yes.
It's you can basically pin it and ride it through most of the rough stuff, and it will. It's not going to hunt on you like the previous model did. It's a very predictable machine. To me, it is.
Good. All right. Okay. Now, in taking that, which it's interesting because the PX being a sportier, more of a closed course geared machine, it was really initially designed to be, more of a corner carver and a buoy course machine. You've been able to take that, and I mean, I've looking across the board. Almost all racers prefer the PX over the larger ST3. And is just because of the raciness of the T3R hull and how responsive it is that you're like, listen, I can point this thing and I know where it's going?
I feel like the RXT is it's more like a Yamaha and a Kawasaki. So like, yes, the RXP is a more surgical tool to me.
Okay.
I feel like you can do pretty much anything with it. It can be an offshore machine or it can be a closed course machine, but it's not a blunt tool. That's how I look at it as.
All right. That works. Now, from Aqua X, we go into World Finals. Now, what classes were you racing in finals this last October?
I was racing the endurance class and veterans limited class.
That's right. That's right. How was the field?
Field was pretty good for the endurance class. You had all the heavy hitters like Pastorella. You had Kylie Elmer there, and who else? The big ones. There was Arrow and Axa Aswar brothers were there.
Yep.
There was quite a big field of some of the guys that I think are the best in the in the business.
There's also a lot of money on the water right there. There's a lot of guys racing some very expensive stuff when it comes to those classes.
Yep, very true.
Right. Now, from there and being able to compete with some of the most talented guys in the nation, or in the country, I should say, we go to what I believe is being the true litmus test of a performance watercraft, and that is the Mark Hahn. I participated in the Mark Hahn twice. I joked about it with Craig Warner that I didn't get a full lap my first time. I completely grenaded my motor because I overbuilt it. I thought I had to be the fastest guy on the water, and so I spent months overbuilding this ski. And I go out there and pin this thing, and it was glass, and it's like this Ultra could not handle the pistons because they were junk hyper-eutectic pistons at the time. I windowed all the pistons, and it was because it was flat, and I had it pinned wide open for 8 miles, and it was like, nope.
Yeah.
But the second year, I went on a box stock turbo Honda, and we finished. And it seems the closer to stock with the Hahn, the better. But I was hoping you could kind of share, because now you coming away with the Hahn win, that's a story. And this is the real, this is the main course of tonight's meal. Is I want to know everything about the Hahn. Going into it, what you did with the ski, what your pit process was, who your teammate was, what your guys' plan was, everything. Tell the story.
All right. So it was pretty much last minute. Les Cook. I'm very very fortunate to have Les Cook as a teammate, because he is a legend with the Sea-Doos, and he can tune a machine to do anything. So having him as a teammate was perfect. Um, and he didn't really deviate too much from a stock setup. His Our setup was literally everything stock with the exception of retainers, and I think we had a bigger supercharger and a different ECU.
Okay.
And it was we changed the ECU so it has better starting. The Sea-Doo ECU takes a while till it boots up, so that was a huge plus for me. I thought that was a necessity for us. But the ski was very, very reliable. It topped out a full tank of gas. It did about 79 miles per hour. As the gas went down towards the end, you could squeeze out, get about. I got 81. Les said that he saw 83, but he's probably about 100 pounds lighter than me. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. He's probably about 50 only. But yeah, so the ski wasn't very modified, and my team, I've been doing the Hahn since let me see, since 2014. So
Yeah.
It's been 9 years that I've been. Ross put it the best way. I've been the bridesmaid, runner up every single time, but I could never win it. I came in second as an Ironman for it, and Mike Klimpasine just blew me out of the water. So this year was the first year that I did it with a team.
Because you Ironman mostly, yeah.
Yeah. Every year before that, I have Ironmanned it. So this year was the first year with a partner, and which was great. Having that break in between was phenomenal. And my pit crew, they had to practice. We used to run a jet lift rail system, but since they moved the Hahn to the boat ramp. It made it different. Hey, hold on 1 second. My phone's about to die. I have to plug it in.
Plug it in. Yeah, we don't want to lose you. And guys, if you have any super chats, now's the time to get them in. If you have questions, we'll definitely get to them. But yeah, don't delay on the super chats. If you have questions for Anthony, if you have questions for me, make sure to get those in. I know Anthony's got to plug his phone in real quick, and we were scrambling to get him in at the last minute. So, all right, let's see here. Yeah, it's funny he mentioned the PWC art sponsons. I still got a set, and I really did not like them. But I'm glad that they work out for him and that he's very happy with them. Of course, I probably outweigh him by about 50 pounds. Oh, we lost him. We lost Anthony. Hold on. Technical difficulties. We lost Anthony. Let's make sure we can get him back. Oh, shoot. So one thing I didn't want to happen. For you guys who have considered the Mark Hahn, there's a couple things. Let's talk about Mark Hahn real quick. All right. The Mark Hahn, for those guys who do not know, Mark Hahn was a offshore endurance racer. One was a really good friend to Yamaha sponsored racer Mike Fulmer, and unfortunately, Mark had a cardiac episode during a race, crashed, and they speculate that he was dead before he even hit the beach. He just had a full-blown cardiac arrest. And because of that, Fulmer wanted to honor Mark's memory by putting on the race that they always talked about. They'd sit over a couple beers and have a great talk about, wouldn't it be cool if we did like a Le Mans start race where you had to run and jump on your ski and fire it up and go. And, we have these pit, you'd have to lap and lap and lap. And then you'd have to come in and pit crew and pit your ski and refuel. And for a couple of years, they allowed them to refuel in the water. Like you'd pull up, your buddy or your team would be standing there waist deep in the water, and they'd fill your tank up and turn you around, and off you went. But there was too much fuel spillage in the water, and the environmentalists did not take too kindly to that, and so they got really upset. And so they had to change the rules, and you had to get about 30 feet up the beach. And so everyone had to have either a quad or an ATV or something to get them up, with a small trailer. And that was where it got really expensive. Was like, oh my gosh, I got to have all this equipment. I got to have this team. And, you're feeding these guys, you're putting them up in a hotel room. And at one point it was almost $40,000 to do the Mark Hahn. It was just ludicrous. And that's when I kind of backed out. I was like, okay, it's untenable for the normal guy. And did he message me? No, not yet. Okay. And so with that, it carried on, and I, whatever, I didn't matter, but you start to see it thin out. And that was unfortunate because, again, it really is genuinely one of the most impressive races. Now, I want to say about 3 years in a row, Pastorello owned that on his ultras, and no one could beat Pastorello. And he did it with his son, he did it with some friends, but Pastorello, absolutely, those cowies of his were just killing it. And that was really hard to try to unseat those guys. And thankfully, some other guys have been successful at it. And, the Klippenstein came in a couple times, and Craig Warner had come in and won. And so it started to shake up a little bit, and it started to be a little bit more diverse. And then the Yamahas started having really good luck. Some guys on GPs, guys on FXs were doing really good. And even despite weather. And the funny thing about the Mark Hahn being on Lake Havasu is it's a 10-mile lap. It's a 10-mile circuit. And it's literally 10 miles. And you had to do 30 laps. And then whoever the winner is and does the full 30 laps, everyone kind of stops. And so when I finished the Hahn, I think I was 3 laps behind, or was I 3 or 4 laps behind? And so we only completed like 26 or 27 laps on the Honda. But they waved us in and said, hey, they called it. You heard them, with the bullhorn and everything like that. And you're like, okay. And you came in through the checkers, and that was the end of it. And here's Ray. Here he is. He's back. I thought he was. Hey, you got your mic on? Oh, we still got more technical difficulties. Wait. Talk if you got a microphone on. No. All right. Well, at least this isn't on my end. All right. We got a super chat from the Adventure State. Chris writes, Kevin, would those PWC super sponsons fit on the Cowie? we should test those versus K-Speed Ultra sponsons. I'm curious how they compare. No, they require an adapter plate, and thus far they have not developed an adapter plate for them. And the adapter plates that I have are for the RXPX and the RXTX, and RXPX, and then the GP Yamahas. I do not have them for the FX, and there is not an adapter for.
Can you hear me?
There he is. Do we got you?
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Are you there? Come in, Will Robinson.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on now. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Hello.
I can't hear you.
Hello.
You're coming in a little broken, but that's all right. Shoot, we lost him again. Darn it. Dang it. You're so close. So Chris, to your question, no, we do not have the adapter for the PWC art sponsons. I was supposed to ship them out almost a year ago. I just never had an address to ship it back to them. I could probably just send them out to Anthony and let him use an extra set, because I won't be using them ever again. I really did not like them. I mean, they really did not work. So, especially in any sort of calm, or I would say anything less than 2 foot, any sort of cornering, they washed out really, really bad. Like, washed out really bad. I like the work sponsons because the work sponsons have a lot of bite. The problem is that it's a full blade. It's an unbroken blade. And that blade set in the water is not so much producing. It produces bite, but it's mainly drag, because once you use the work sponson versus the Riva sponson, you'll find that the Riva sponson is optimizing the pivot point. It's optimizing where on the ski, where on the hull it likes to turn. And so the deepest part is specifically catering. Here's Anthony. Let's try him again.
Sorry about that.
Yay! Yes, we can. We can all hear you.
All right, awesome.
All right, we're back in business. Good. All right. Yes, everyone can hear you. We were talking about Hahn. So you were previous setups. Now, with the beach launches, I remember you had that really trick trailer that would turn around.
Yeah,
that was short-lived.
So the trailer that turns around, we actually were using it for this.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were using it. That's actually Les Cook's design. That's his trailer.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's a good trailer. It was it allows us to get out faster, so you don't have to turn around into water. We would as soon as we fill up the ski, turn it around and back it into water, and made for a super quick launch, which was I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad that you're still able to use it. I didn't know if people complained and they said, "Oh no, you can't use that. That's not fair. That's an unfair advantage." So good. I'm glad you're able to still use that.
Yeah. I think Klippenstein also used a version of it. I'm not sure why doesn't he use it anymore, but he used it for a couple of years.
Okay. So the setup was more or less pretty stock then.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Very stock.
I mean, and did you change out the sponsons? Did you change out the impeller? Did you?
No, the impeller was stock. There was a different set of sponsons that we used. We used a new like version from Les Cook. He designed
Oh,
these, which were really really good sponsons. Also, had a good nose pressure, so it kept us ski in the water. I think these sponsons would be phenomenal for closed course racing. But yeah, it was different sponsons. The ski reacted differently than what I expected it, but
okay.
it was good. It was really good.
Well, considering how much seat time you have with both versions of the RXPX, I mean, you're able to pull from a long catalog of experience and go, okay, listen, this is what it's doing, and I'm not a fan of this, and you're able to make some really good informed, input on that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually Kevin. I'm a big fan of the stock sponsons. Like they
Are
work
you really?
good. Yeah, they're very neutral, and I like that about him. Um, the ones from Les Cook, they felt very aggressive, so that's why I think it would be phenomenal for like close course. And the race diffusers were kind of right there in the middle. They weren't
Okay.
as aggressive, and it seemed like they had very very good hookup in rough water. So I th- I prefer the race diffusers.
Okay. Okay. All right. I got a question for you that while we were waiting for you to come back, you've been able to have some time on the Apex.
Uh-huh.
What do you think of the steering system?
The steering system, I love it for endurance racing for sure.
Okay.
It's for leisurely riding and endurance is phenomenal. But the one thing that I don't like about it is that I wish it had a free setting, so it had
Oh,
nothing on it.
yeah, there
So
isn't one. There's always some dampening happening.
that's right. There's always some dampening, and I feel like for a long pro like close course race, let's say 14 minutes or like higher, I think it would kill your forearms. Like it would
Okay.
be a lot of work. Like the race that we did in Poland, where we had two split courses.
Okay.
I think having that steering system would destroy a rider.
There's too much resistance.
Yeah, it's too much resistance going into a turn, just initiating from left to
Okay.
right. I think it had too much resistance for switching constantly back and forth.
Okay. But for an endurance or for rough water or for a longer ride, you're seeing the the dampener actually being really good and taking out a lot of any sort of small undulations. It's kind of soaking that up.
Yes, it's definitely soaking up everything, and it's also saving your elbows. Uh,
Okay.
uh, like for me, elbows are key, and I like feel that that's my the first thing that goes out is elbows and then shoulders,
Oh yeah.
and the steering dampener definitely softens the blow.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's again when it comes to endurance, it's like, all right, what parts are going to fatigue out, and then you're going to feel it in your shoulders. You're going to feel it, if you got arm pump, and it's just like, dude, it's killing my arms, it's killing my elbows, and you start getting that arm pump, or you start getting that lactic acid in your upper body. There's very little that's going to keep you motivated.
That's right. Yeah, like you got to find the little things that will help, and definitely that helps.
Okay. Well, that was one of my biggest things about the Apex is I looked at it and I'm like, it's a prestige purchase, it's a prestige item, but you look where the money's spent, and I'm like, oh, they put some R&D into that steering system. That's going to show up later.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to get your experience on it, because I'm like, okay, good. It's not just me who's a tourist. It's actually someone who goes out there and beats on it. So cool.
Yeah.
All right. So your the weather the day before at the Hahn looked a little dicey. It looked like 30-mile-an-hour winds the day before. What did you guys wake up to on Saturday?
So on Saturday, it wasn't terrible. I kept on looking at the weather, and it said it was going to be 27 right at 11 o'clock with gusting up to 40. But it didn't seem that bad to me.
Okay.
And in the morning, it was right about 10 miles per hour. And right where we started, it was pretty much flat. But as we were going towards the California side and running down the California side, that's where you started seeing the wind picking up.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's always the worst.
yes. And as the day went on, I noticed that it was getting rougher, and it was more towards the corner of California and Arizona side, where it was getting kind of brutal going diagonal into the wind.
I know exactly where you are. Yeah, you're in the shadow of it. Okay.
Yeah.
But
considering the weather that we had last year, I think this year was a lot better. It was actually kind of a blessing. It wasn't
last
terrible.
year called or delayed?
Yeah, last year they canceled it for the day, and they moved it to the next day. So
that screwed everyone up.
Yeah. But I do not blame them. That was pretty horrible winds that day, and the next day it wasn't that much better, but but enough to make the race.
Okay, so you're in it. You're chewing through your 10-mile laps. You're grinding through. Now, pitting. My understanding was that, back when it was at Crazy Horse, the pitting process, I mean, some guys were pitting in less than a minute. Was it slower using the launch ramp?
So for us, it was slower, but we started getting better and better. So back up a bit. When we started the race, I had a great hole shot. I think I had the whole shot.
Okay.
There was one person next to me. I feel that got a little bit of a better start, but my ski died within 30 seconds of the start.
Oh no.
Yeah, and the ECU fuse popped, and it just cut the ski off. So everyone just zoomed right by me.
Oh, jeez.
Man, so I thought it was like, that's it. Like the race is over. So so they towed me in quickly, and Les Cook knew exactly the problem. He opened up the seat, and he couldn't see very well, but he pulled out a fuse and he held it up to one of the crew guys, Aaron. He's like, "Hey, is this fuse burnt?" And he's like, "Yeah." So we changed it out, put it in, and we went right back in. We lost there. It was I consider that as our pit stop, because we lost what was it? We lost 13 minutes getting out of the water, turned around, back into the water, and we took off. But every pit after that, it got substantially better. One of our best pit stop was 2 minutes and 13 seconds.
Okay.
All
right.
And that's on a factory fuel system. I think Les did a little bit of changes on the added a vent valve on the fuel system, but
we lost
everything else is factory.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, there's some guys who run some really trick fuel systems, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Some of those guys have a couple $1,000s in fuel systems that are the quick fuels with the air evacuation tank, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? So,
yeah. Some of that stuff is NASCAR level, but I feel like our pit stop last year, where we had it at Crazy Horse, was super quick and super safe. We were able to do like pit stops right around a minute and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
We're like now it's a little bit longer, but I feel like it's more of a equal playing field for everyone else.
Good.
I do like the ramp. I do like the new location is
Good.
a million times better than Crazy Horse. I thought Crazy Horse was crazy.
Right. Well, I was actually saying to those in the chat, everyone listening in the audience, was one of the hardest things for me was the fact that when you were at Crazy Horse, you had to have a quad or a side by side. You had to have a small trailer. You couldn't have your regular trailer. You had your whole team. You had all this equipment. Had to have your fuel and all your cans up the beach 30 feet, 30, 40 feet. And so you were in it for 40 grand worth of gear and team. And now, because they're on a launch ramp, there's guys who are like, I'm using my truck and my trailer, and you're just pulling up the trailer, and the fuel's in the bed of the truck, and you pull up, and it's like, all right, how fast can we do this?
Yep. Yeah, and like now it's I feel like anyone can race it now. It's you can come out there with a double trailer if you want, and no issues.
Which I think is
I do like that part.
Yeah, I mean, because it's so stinking wide. It's like isn't it like a 6 lane or because they launch all the big boat, all the race boats out of that launch ramp.
Yeah. It's 6 lanes, and they did it right. There's never going to be six riders coming in at the same time, so it was always comfortable coming inside. Now they did the stand-up riders were on the beach side, so we weren't mingling with them.
Good.
It was super. I thought it was super safe, and it worked out well.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So you were able to bridge the gap of your 13-minute loss at the beginning. You were able to shave. Now, were you doing 4 laps or 5 laps? And then
so whenever in the beginning of the day, while the water was spewed, we were able to pull 5 laps comfortable.
Okay.
As the day went on, I know both me and Les, we were able to squeeze out 6 laps towards like the end, while it was a lot rougher and you couldn't stay on the gas like the whole time.
Okay. All right.
So we were. Yeah. So six laps was good. It wasn't really necessary. We could have done it like 5 laps to be on the safe side, but we both did 6 one time just to kind of see what happens.
Yeah. Well, you didn't come in on the hook, so that it was a good gamble.
Yeah. For sure.
I didn't look at the field, and so I have to apologize for that. But as you were nearing, you're in the high 20s for laps. You've seen the field thin out because attrition is part of the game.
Yep.
But was the attrition as bad as the year before, or were guys hanging on?
There was a lot of people that fell out, and it was mechanical issues. I really feel for Tori. He was out there. He had a fast ski, and he came out. I think it was on lap 17 or lap 20. Who else? There was a couple of good guys that were just and their skis just didn't make it. And I'm not sure. I feel like we're very lucky, and we've been using the same setup on a Sea-Doo for a while. So I think Sea-Doo has made a machine that's pretty much bulletproof if you keep it stock. You can stay on the gas on it for hours.
Well, I think obviously it's not opinion, you're proving it. So, for a lot of Sea-Doo guys or a lot of people who want to say contrary to Sea-Doo, you got to look at the scoreboard on that one, because 300 miles pinned, completely viced open, and going through, white caps halfway through the race. That's a hell of a testament.
Yeah. Like I was at one point, we were smacking waves so hard that I'm like, dude, we need to check the hull on this ski, make sure that it's not broken or something like that. But everything was perfect on it. There was no issues. And it's been now this hull, I've been racing it for like a while, and it seems like it's been holding up pretty well, as long as you're not doing something crazy on it.
Right. Well, as long as you can read the water and you can read the water and you have some throttle control, you can keep that ski together. So
yep.
Yeah. And I mean, I hate to say it, but that's something that's lacking in, a lot of people who go on Facebook and complain. It's like, well, I think there's a little bit of user error there.
Right. Like we had some like hull failures in Thailand when we did the endurance race over there, but come on, guys, like those skis were like 90-mile plus skis, and these guys were trying to run it through like some real nasty water. And
right.
I'm like, it's not going to last. You got to reinforce that stuff if you're going to go that fast on it.
Right. And that was something I kind of wanted to segue in after we finished talking about Hahn. And I know we're already over an hour, but we had a little bit of a gap, but
yeah, sorry about that.
No, don't apologize. You're fine. No worries. We still got a crowd here. So you come in, they fire the shotgun off. I mean, did you know that you were ahead, or was it you were doing mental arithmetic?
No. So Les was the guy that finished. I thought that we were in second place the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was. So my stepmom was the one that was keeping score and tracking all of our time. So she was on the beach, and I couldn't talk to her and figure out where were we at. But I was calculating we were second or third. I didn't think we were in first place at all till the gunshot. Till I saw that they brought out the checkered flag and they waved it on Les. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And that was like a big surprise.
Okay, cool. That's even better. So no longer the bridesmaid.
Yeah. But Les knew that he was in first place.
Oh, he did.
Yes. So when he went out, he knew that he just had to pass one person, and he would have been in first place, and that's what he did. And once he passed him, he saw the white flag get waved at him, and then he was just going for the checkered flag. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. What a great surprise. That's really, really cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's fantastic, man. I when I saw that and I saw that announcement, I was like, hot damn. Because I knew you had Ironmanned it a bunch of times. I did not know that you Ironmanned it every time beforehand. So you paired up with Les. Now Les is with Sea-Doo Center, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I want to make sure. So
and Les was kind of last minute. He was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing the Hahn," and he just showed up, and I'm like, "Dude, we got to do it together, bro."
Please, yeah, for sure.
So it was perfect. I'm glad he came. That he did the trip from Australia, and I think I'm trying to talk him into coming to Thailand, but I know Kylie is going to be there for sure.
Okay. So can we talk about Thailand? What's the plan? What's the plan for next week?
So the plan for next week in Thailand, we can talk about it. It's very simple for me. I have a boat that's semi-stock. I think the only thing on it that's different, it's an ECU and retainers that they put on it. So for that one, it's 120 kilometers. So we're going to have one pit stop.
Okay.
My biggest worry is the pit stop, because we're doing it on a beachy area, and I'm not sure how to get the ski out of the water and refueled. So that's still a mystery to me. We're still trying to figure it out. But
all right.
But all of the the big names are going to be out there. We're going to have Pastorella is going to be out there.
Okay.
Christian D'Angelo is going to be out there too.
I haven't seen Christian in a while, so that's cool.
Yeah. He's been laying low for like a while, but he told me he's going to be out there, and that's gonna be good. And obviously Kylie is going to be there. All of the big endurance riders are going to be out there.
Good. All right. So and that course is just how many laps?
So it's going to be 2 laps, and it's 60 kilometers each lap. Okay. So that's about, what is that? About 40 miles. Yeah, 40 miles. Yeah. The plan was originally that they're going to go around the island, Phuket Island, but due to weather and not and keeping their race safe, they just decided to have a turn point and come back. So it's going to be 120 kilometers total. Okay.
Well, good. Well, hopefully, I was laughing with Greg Gaddis a few weeks ago when we saw the one guy on the RXPX who literally split the ski in half, top and bottom. Yeah. And they had to, I think they found both halves of it. They brought it in. Yeah. But that thing, he was running 90 something miles an hour, wasn't he?
Yeah. That was a very, very fast ski. It was probably one of the fastest skis out there. It's like it's a bad analogy, but it's like taking a Yugo and putting a Ferrari engine in it and trying to make it last.
Yeah. I go back to a lot of endurance racing where the ski's so overbuilt, and you're like, dude, you're trying too hard, and it's not meant to last, and that's a big problem. Is a lot of horsepower is easy, and you can make big horsepower pretty quickly, and there's a lot of guys who build their skis to go 85, 87, 90 miles an hour, and then they go, well, what do you mean I can't cruise it? And I'm like, dude, that thing is not going to ride nice. You're gonna start burning up valves. You're gonna start hurting this motor, And
I found the magic number on a Sea-Doo is keeping it under 8,500 RPMs. It will last you a good bit. It's not terribly wound up. It'll be quick. It's an 80 mile an hour ski still, and it's reliable.
It'll hold together. You could run, you can run 93 pump gas, maybe with a little splash of 110. If you want to go over to, you can go over to a speed shop and get the little, VP gas, 5-gallon can, and just toss a little in and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Why not? But I always thought the ski, if it's closer to stock, the better. And if you can extract all the performance out of it like that, it's not going to win any drag races, but it's a good, reliable machine.
Yeah, it'll get you home, and you get to ride it all day, and you're still quick, and it's still a lot of fun. And it's not. So many guys just overbuild it, and they lose the enjoyment out of it, or the longevity, I should say. So
back in the days, I remember trying to go 90 miles an hour, and it seemed like every weekend I was wrenching on the ski, trying to fix something that broke, and it's totally different. Like here, one weekend is like the engine mount broke, and then the next weekend is like the supercharger like bearings. So it's so on. It's like you're chasing something.
Exactly. You're chasing the weakest link, and as you fix one thing, the next weakest link appears, and it's just going to keep snowballing.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, let's see. we talked about Thailand. We talked about Han. What are your plans for this year?
Plans for this
After
year
Thailand.
is simple. Is do the do the 4 like races for the World Jet Ski Cup, which used to like be the Triple Crown, but now they have 4 of them. So that's Poland, France, US, and Thailand. So
Okay.
I'm looking forward to those. And then the Aqua X series, and hopefully the schedule for Aqua Bike will be out soon. I know that there were that they're going to be doing the race in Olbia, Italy, and Sicily for sure. The rest of the venues still up in the air.
You're getting some traveling in this year, then.
Yeah. And I don't mind it. It's like we have a ski sitting in Europe, so it's easy to like get situated now. It used to be hard when we had to ship one back and forth, but now it's there. So
yeah, if you got one there, you're a step ahead. All right, well, and you've been pretty good about keeping the same sponsors for a while, but who's supporting you this year?
So Sea-Doo, as always, XPS Softlead is they've been with me for a very, very long time. Riva Racing has been my very first sponsor, and I've been going strong with like them ever since. Dave like Bambus is amazing.
Yes.
I got Jetlift and Jet Zone, and who else? And Fly Racing. Those are my biggest like sponsors.
Great. Okay. Well, hey, one last thing, and I want to, whenever I talk with racers, I always try to incorporate this, but now is your opportunity to give any shout outs and big thank yous to anyone who's been helping you out. So if you want to take a minute or two and just gosh,
a minute, I'm gonna need like an hour, Kevin, because there's a lot of guys out there that have been helping me out, and I can't I don't know if I would even be here without them. But huge shout out to my wife. You know, she's been my rock. She lets me do all this crazy stuff, you know. And I gotta tell you, Les Cook, I thank you for him for coming out and doing the race out there. Jesus at Riva for always providing me the best tunes. Dave like Bambus for like being like there. My all of the Sea-Doo team out there, you know, those guys are amazing. Like they've been that's been like my family over there. And my pit crew, you know, my cousin Eddie, Aaron, Joe, those guys are phenomenal, you know. And I have my neighbor Jonathan Taylor. He's awesome. So I have a good team supporting me. So
good. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, I was going to let you go, but we got a super chat, and he came in, and he had to ask. He says, Anthony, once you stop, which I don't know when that will ever be, but Anthony, once you stop PWC racing, what would you like to accomplish next?
Oh shoot, I don't know. Once I stop, I think I'm going to be chasing my son and his sporting endeavors. He's been into BMXing a lot, so I think I'm going to transition into like that slowly.
Coach Dad, that's been the topic of conversation. Craig Warner's got his son racing. He's racing dirt track and asphalt. And I know McCluggage has got his boy, has got Mac racing motorcycles. And, of course, Dustin Farthing's got Talon. He's following in his dad's footsteps. And so we're watching a lot of racers bring up a whole new crop of athletes. So it's exciting.
Yep, for sure.
Well, very cool. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for tuning in. I know it was a little bumpy and we had some technical difficulties. Hopefully, when you win your next Han and your next World Championship, we'll have you back on, and we can talk about that too.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
That, or when Sea-Doo decides to make a turbo spark and they just want to put you on one of those, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be really, really cool.
Fingers crossed, turbo spark.
All right, guys.
Hey, well, thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. You have a good night. for all you guys who tuned in tonight, thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you so much for the questions. Thanks for tuning in and letting us enjoy Anthony for an hour. That was really great. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Watercraft Journal. It's entirely free. There's no downloads. There's no passwords. So go over to watercraftjournal.com, hit the subscribe button, and you'll get the weekly newsletter. Thanks again, guys. Have a great night.